All right, let's get right into it. We're going to tackle one of the biggest questions every single IELTS test taker has. What in the world do these scores actually mean? You get this report card with a bunch of numbers on it, but there's a whole story behind them. And today, we're going to figure out that story together. So, you've gotten your results back, and you see that number, maybe a 6.5, a 7.0, or even an 8.0. But you know what? It is so much more than just a grade. A better way to think about it is like a snapshot of your English skills at that exact moment. And understanding that snapshot, that's your first step to making the next picture even better. So, that big number at the top, that's your overall band score. It's all based on a really simple 1 to 9 scale. A 1 means you're a non-user, and a 9 means you're basically an expert. It's the big picture view. But how do they even get to this one number? And here is the secret. It's actually not magic at all. That single score is simply the average of how you did in 4 totally different areas. So it's not about one thing you got right or wrong. It's all about the balance of all your skills put together. So what are these 4 skills? Well, they're the building blocks for your entire score. You've got listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Each one gets its own score before they're all averaged together to create that final number. You know, a really helpful way to think about these is to split them into 2 groups. On one side, you have your receptive skills, that's listening and reading, basically how you take English in. And on the other side, you've got your productive skills, that's writing and speaking, how you put English out into the world. It's a really useful way to look at it.
Okay, let's start with those receptive skills, listening and reading. The scoring for these is super direct, very black and white. It's all about right or wrong answers.
For both listening and reading, it really couldn't be more straightforward. You get 40 questions, and for every single one you get right, you get 1 point. That's it. And here's a little pro tip for you. There is absolutely no penalty for wrong answers, so never ever leave a question blank. Always take your best guess.
In this chart here, this shows you exactly how your number of correct answers, your raw score, gets turned into an official IELTS band score. So for example, to get that band 7 in listening, you usually need to nail about 30 of those 40 questions. This chart basically gives you a target to aim for. Okay, so that's the objective part. But what about the other side of the coin? Your productive skills, writing and speaking. This is where things are a little different, because there's no simple answer key. Instead, a trained examiner is actually assessing your performance. So what are they looking for?
Right? So instead of a machine, you have a real, highly trained human being scoring you. And to make sure it's fair for everyone, they use a super detailed checklist. They're grading you on 4 very specific areas for both writing and speaking.
For your writing, think of your score like a pie that's cut into 4 equal slices. Each of these criteria is worth exactly 25% of your total writing score. Let's do a quick flyby of what they actually mean. First up, task achievement. The simplest way to think about this is, did you actually do what the question asked you to do? Did you write enough words? Did you answer all parts of the prompt? That's it. Next is coherence and cohesion. I know, they're fancy words, right? But all it really means is your writing organized? Is it easy for someone to read and follow your ideas from one sentence to the next?
Third, we've got lexical resource. That's just a technical term for your vocabulary. The examiner is looking to see if you use a good variety of words and if you use them correctly.
And the final piece of that puzzle is grammar. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Are you using a mix of sentence types? Are they clear and, for the most part, free of errors? Now, for the speaking test, here's some good news. The criteria are almost identical. You've still got fluency and coherence, lexical resource, and grammar. The only big difference is that task achievement gets swapped out for pronunciation, and that's all about how clearly and naturally you speak.
Okay, we've seen exactly how the scores are made. But now, for the million-dollar question, what's actually a good score? And honestly, the answer really depends on what your goals are. So let's put these numbers in context. A band 6, for example, is officially described as a competent user. What that really means is you can communicate effectively. You can handle most day-to-day situations and understand some complex stuff, even if you make a few mistakes here and there.
Now, a band 7, this is a good user, and this one's a pretty big deal. It's often the magic number that a lot of universities in English-speaking countries are looking for. It shows them you can handle the academic language you'll need to succeed. And this table is super helpful for seeing the bigger picture. It shows how your IELTS score lines up with other global standards, like the CEFR levels in Europe or the TOEFL test. See that band 7 we were just talking about? That puts you squarely in the C1 or advanced level. That tells you a lot about where you stand.
And for a little dose of reality, check this out. This chart shows where most people actually score on the academic test. You can see the biggest groups of people are landing right around that 5.5 to 6.5 mark. So if you're aiming for a 7.0 or higher, you're really pushing yourself into the top tier of test takers. It's tough, for sure, but it definitely makes you stand out.
So if there's one thing I really want you to take away from all of this, it's this. Please do not look at your score report like a final grade, like you passed or you failed. It's not that at all. Think of it as your own personal roadmap. It's a guide that shows you exactly what you're great at and which areas you can focus on to get even better. Understanding how this all works is your first and most powerful step toward getting the score you want. You have the map now. The only real question left is, what's your first destination? Which skill are you going to start mastering first?